or feel loss, or feel like you lost a loved one. And how can you be happy if your mind is in the past thinking about the loved one that you lost? And that's how Present Happiness, join us Tuesdays for Present Happiness, got started. It literally got started at the idea that we are cause in our own movie, you might say. And the only way that you can know your will, which is the same as God's will, is to enter into his presence now. Something came up on my screen on Sunday. Some of you may know Dietrich Wolsak. I love Dietrich. He was one of the people that started in attitudinal healing with Jerry Jampolsky. And I follow a lot of his quotes. Now I'm going to put up one of his quotes now that came over on Sunday, and it came from Hafiz. Now, some of you know Hafiz is the Persian poet that lived, I don't know, somewhere in the time of Rumi, maybe a little bit later, I'm not sure. I'm going to put it up in the chat for all to see. And this is what it says. This is what Hafiz says. Don't surrender your loneliness so quickly. Let it cut more deep. Let it ferment and season you as few human or even divine ingredients can. Something missing in my heart tonight has made my eyes so soft, my voice so tender, my need of God is absolutely clear. So Hafiz is saying, instead of thinking that you're lonely and you need another body out there to keep company to your body, begin to recognize that there's a deep longing in your heart. And even though in our society today, in our culture today, the thought is, let me get another body with me so I won't be so lonely. And I have a client who says, I cannot imagine that I'm going to live the rest of my life alone, and without somebody to keep me company. But that's the ego at work, by the way. The ego needs somebody so it doesn't feel alone. Okay, that's from Hafiz from 700 years ago. And now I'm going to put up something that Dietrich Wolsak said, as Dietrich always uses some of his, some of the people that he quotes, and then he uses that, as we all do, to teach. And this is what, let me put it up. And this is what Dietrich says. I'll read it. He says, when I recognize that sadness, worry, grieving, and even mourning indicates that I believe there is something missing in my heart, I have a choice to make. Do I seek outside of me to fill the lack, or do I choose to go inside and find the truth? There is nothing lacking. There never was. The apparent lack is at all times supplied by my connection to who I am. The belief in lack comes from a belief that I am not enough, that there has to be someone or something that can complete me, or equally debilitating, I have to do something to become enough. I am whole. I am complete. There is nothing lacking. I just forget from time to time. And that's from Dietrich Wolsak, who is the founder and program director of Choose Again, which you can see at choose-again.com. And Dietrich is an old friend of mine, and he does some wonderful work. A lot of people with addictions go to his retreat down in Costa Rica. I'll just put that in as a plug for some of the work that Dietrich does. So that happened on Sunday. And I said, I'm going to talk about this on Tuesday evening because it really touches me, because it's my experience that I'm going through right now. I was married for 40 years. I was with her for 43 years. And now all of a sudden I'm alone. There's that word alone. And I say, maybe I should find someone to be with. So this is like a question that's in my consciousness right now. Lo and behold, that was Sunday. On Monday, I see the following slide, which Rosalyn hopefully is going to be able to put up. It's a picture of Keanu Reeves. And let's see what Keanu Reeves has to say. Rosalyn?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay, very good, very good. And we all love Neo Keanu Reeves. He's the one, right? He's the one. And here it is. So Keanu says, someone told me the other day that he felt bad for single people because they're lonely all the time. I told him that's not true. I'm single. I don't feel lonely. I take myself out to eat. I buy myself clothes. I have great times by myself. Once you know how to take care of yourself, company becomes an option and not a necessity. Thank you so much for that, Rosin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If all of that wasn't enough of Holy Spirit telling me, I want you to speak a little about this, up comes something that I was reading today, because on Tuesday mornings, I do what's called a deep dive into the textbook with Lynn Johnson. And we were on chapter 15, I believe it is. And chapter 15, section 7 is called the needless sacrifice. And I'm reading here in paragraph 12 of chapter 15, section 7. It says, the illusion of the autonomy of the body and its ability to overcome loneliness is but the working of the ego's plan to establish its own autonomy. As long as you believe that to be with a body is companionship, you'll be compelled to attempt to keep your brother in his body, held there by guilt, and you'll see safety in guilt and danger in communication. For the ego will always teach that loneliness is solved by guilt and that communication is the cause of loneliness. And despite the evident insanity of this lesson, many have learned it. And all of a sudden I said, wait a minute, all this stuff on bodies and loneliness and needing another body as a companion, Holy Spirit is really speaking to me. So I went back to the beginning of this chapter 7 chapter 15, section 7. And I read, it says in paragraph 9, it says, suffering and sacrifice are the gifts which the ego would bless all unions. So the ego wants you to have a special relationship so that it can make sure that it wants you to be able to get angry at somebody so you can project guilt and keep the guilt real. It says, and all those who are united at its altar, accepting suffering and sacrifice as the price of union. Now, union is what love is. Love is oneness. It's union. It's not another body. It's we are of one mind. He goes on to say, in their angry alliances, born of the fear of loneliness, and yet dedicated to the continuous of loneliness, each seeks relief from guilt by increasing it in the other. For each believes that this decreases guilt in him. The other seems always to be attacking and wounding him, perhaps in little ways, perhaps unconsciously, yet another without demand of sacrifice. The fury of those joined at the ego's altar far exceeds your awareness of it. For what the ego really wants, you do not even realize. And I'm going to put that up in the chat just in case you say, well, that's a lot to take a look at. You can always find it at chapter 15, section 7, paragraph 9. Okay, I went through all of that. And if you didn't take sides and say, well, well, now I'm glad I'm not with another companion. Or you say, hey, wait a minute, I am with another companion. I don't see it that way. That's just simply kind of taking sides, one versus the other. When you just step back and hear the words of both Hafiz, and you're hearing the words of, uh, of Jesus in the Course in Miracles and Dietrich Wolsack, you're hearing that the heart can feel lonely, but you're not really lonely for another person. You're really belonging to God, and you're remembering your belonging and you're longing for your Father who created you. So spending some time alone is a wonderful way to remember your oneness, your union with your Father, which never ended. But in the ego mind, it doesn't even exist. And it says, no, go find another body. Then you won't be alone. No, sometimes it pays to just hang out and just be yourself. And like in the Hebrew tradition, the word shalom, which means peace. And the Kabbalah says shalom means there's nothing missing. There's nothing broken. You are still one with all. And that is the peace of God. And I did tell Rosalind that I wanted her to maybe bring us into a process to further deepen our understanding that this is something that can always come back to and be with now in the ever present now. So I'm going to turn this mic on over to you. And then later, we're going to ask people to share your own thoughts on anything you heard today. Thank you so much. Rosalind, the mic is all yours.
And while I do that, I've made you co-host of so that you can keep your eye on if anybody wants to be admitted, because last time somebody had to wait while I had my eyes closed. So,
okay.
All right. So Dov talked a lot in his brilliant and very sensitive and vulnerable. Here we go. Somebody's here, Brenda.
Okay.
I might not see him. Okay. Hi, Brenda. Dov talked about that place of filling that perceived void in oneself and then playing that out if there is another, playing that out through special relationships. Or there are many of us that play out the lack in the not good enough, the missing, where there's something wrong with us. And these are sisters and brothers. If we do guilt with another person, when the focus is on us, then we call that shame. And we call it because it's not about anything we've done. It's about who we are. But it's such a mistaken idea. And the Course tells us that sin is an ignorant or mistaken belief. In those days, it meant when sin was used, it was an archery term that we missed the mark. And so now let's go together, whether we're feeling like we're missing a partner or missing a best friend, missing another, someone we've lost or someone we're looking for in the future. You know, the past and the future are just stories. They aren't this moment. Let's explore this moment. But before we do that, if you're the kind of person that gets frequent messages, I'm just not good enough, I'm not smart enough, people, I don't belong, people don't want me, people, I can't be part of that, they're smarter, whatever they are, better than you, then put a number on that. Put a number on how much that hurts right now. And put a number on how much you're wishing to have another person or even another body, wishing to change something that is, wishing to change something that is in form. Put a number on that and then join me as you enter this breath, this space, this chair, this body, this formerly believed separate self. And now let's move out from this body. Your choice. Move out through your toes, move out through your fingers, move out through your shoulders and arms, move out through the top of your head. We enter the room, the space of the room that's been holding us along with the chair. Stopping to have a little bit of gratitude for the dwelling that we live. So many people have lost their dwellings, and we join with them right now in our hearts, in the oneness where all is well, even when circumstances don't appear that way. And let's move out from this room, out into the air outside. Let's join with the air. And whether it's perceived as clean air or fire air or other kind of weather, just join with it as it is. Notice that we don't need a perceiver and a judger when we enter outside our bodies, where there are no boundaries, no edges, no seeking, no lacking. And there's a place for each of us. There's no separation. All beings are welcome, just as the trees and the plants. The beings are all welcomed. And let's for a moment call this life. This is life. And what if what we are is life? Not a separate person, not a not good enough person, not a person who needs something. In the old mystical traditions, we went to what we're not to find out what we are. So the Course tells us we're not a body, but let's experience that now. Where is everyone else in this space outside? They're with us without their bodies. All are welcome. All is one, just as it is. And if by any chance you've been missing someone, like Dov and I he doesn't have his wife in presence in a body. Rafi doesn't have, I believe it's a son. I don't have my daughter here in body, but we can experience them here with us. And just as we've had this image that you could tell yourself you would lay on a couch and not get up, but you can't. Sooner or later, you'll get a message, get something to eat, get a glass of water, make a phone call, message that person. And what if those messages come from your intuition, come from this oneness? What if we trusted that rather than the separate person? Yes, we can't know for sure. But what if we did an experiment to trust this peace that we have right now, that all is well? We can bring this into our lives. It doesn't have to be a meditation experience. We are one with the one. If you call that God, so be it. If you call it the oneness, so be it. If you call it life, so be it. If you call it your everything, so be it. We are the beingness. We are the I am. In case you need proof that you're not your thoughts and feelings, remember you're the same person you call I, that had 5-year-old thoughts once, that had 5-year-old feelings you had once. And that I is still with you, but it's not a body. Your body has aged. It's not a thought. You don't remember what you thought at 10 a.m. this morning. No matter how repetitive the thoughts are, they're still transitory. What if we busted the myth that we are our bodies, that we're not good enough? All it takes is a refocus. All it takes is a remembrance of the peace that you are now. The I am. The I am. The I am that has always been, that always will be, that is one with your ancestors, one with the masters, and one with your future, which doesn't exist except this millisecond. Quantum physics proves it. All we have is this moment, this millisecond moment, without the mind, without a story. So let's come back into the room with soft eyes that are not seeking anything, but receive all that we've experienced, receive each other, receive the guidance, receive. We have receptors for a reason. Let's use them for our enlightenment, which is present at every second if we choose to see it. It's not a change at all. All is well. All is well. All is well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Kathy, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to share that in chapter 8 of the Course, Jesus says that if we're feeling lonely, it's really just an illusion of loneliness. He says you cannot maintain the illusion of loneliness if you are not alone, because he is with us always and we are always connected. So there's never a time in reality that we are not in relationship. So I had just, because that's one of my favorite paragraphs in the Course. So I wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Kathy.
Thank you. That's in chapter 8. What? Section what?
You're muted, honey.
Sorry. It's chapter 8, paragraph 2, sentence where he says, you cannot maintain the illusion
Yeah.
of loneliness if you are not alone. That's sentence 7.
Okay. When Rosalyn was saying, what word do you want to use for God? Do you want to use one? That's okay. You want to use life, l'chaim? That's life. That's okay. It's really the union of the Father and the Son. There's a 3-word sentence in the Course that says, truth is union. So the communication between the Father and the Son is always going on. Notice in lesson 49, he says, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There's a part of my mind that is in constant communication. The word constant means it never ends. Constant communication with the voice for God. Notice the next lesson is lesson 50. I'm sustained by this love of God. And what is love? Love is this oneness. Function of love is one. I had a real aha this past weekend, which I want to share with you all. Most of you know that lately I use topics on trust, which I've been teaching on trust for some time. And this past Saturday, I was teaching in Colombia, and I think Mayfer was listening to was on video, and the topic was called Trust the Truth. And the second part of the topic was because nothing else is true. What else are you going to trust in? You're going to trust in a belief system? Trust the truth. Now, but you might say, but what is the truth? He tells you the truth is oneness. The truth is union. It came to me that, the very first time trust is mentioned in the course, in the lesson book, is in lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. Now, it sounds like it's God's strength, but it's really not just God's strength. It's my strength because we are one. It's the same strength. If you take the last word off of trust, God is the strength in which I trust. The last word is trust. And the next lesson is lesson 48, which a lot of us know very well, is there is nothing to fear. And it came to me that that's what trust is. Trust, there is nothing to fear. The way that you know that you're still in fear is we react to the dream like it's real. If I react to anything in the illusion, I still must be in a mind that makes the illusion real. If I make the illusion real, I'm still living in fear. And I feel I have to defend myself, or I have to avoid something. I have to manipulate. I have to do something in order to not let something different from me take me over. So what is trust? Trust, T-R-U-S-T, to rely upon spirit totally. And when I'm turning it over to spirit, spirit doesn't react to the illusion at all. As a matter of fact, that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness looks and does nothing. If it did something, it wouldn't be forgiveness. So forgiveness is simply the denial of what we have denied as the truth. The denial of truth is the denial of oneness. And when we forgive, that is the denial of that denial. So that happiness is always here. I'll turn the mic over to you, Rosalyn. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to focus on that phrase, to deny the oneness. All of us just had an experience together. And when we go back to believing that we're separate selves, isn't that what we're doing? So we have that opportunity right now. I assume that everybody had some kind of a positive experience of releasing from the separate self. Raise your hand if you were transported at all when we did the meditation. Okay, so we all had that experience together. We shared it, the oneness in this room. And now, what is that like? Do you feel it as a decision? Am I going to keep that with me and bring that into my life? Or am I going to live as a separate person and try to find spirit, try to find God from the separate place? Because that's what we do when we believe in separation, or when we think we have problems that we have to solve. or when we're not good enough. We're trying to find peace from the separate self. So can anybody share what that's like for you? Because when he said just a few seconds ago, deny the oneness, that's applicable to all of us if we go back to a separate self. Anybody have a comment? Thank you, Rico.
Good evening, friends and family. Welcome. I send you love, light, and well-being from my heart to yours, and thank you for letting me be with you this evening. You know, while you were talking, Rosin, I was thinking about what I use as I learn things from you guys. I try and find a way to apply it. If information without application for me is insanity, so I have to find a practical way to use it. When I'm in groups like this, oneness is almost not even a challenge. I love it. It's when I move away from here and I go out in that traffic, where's my oneness? And that's what I use in my litmus test. Or if somebody over in this corner says, oh, Rico Cruz, I love you. And somebody in this corner says, Rico Cruz, I hate you. Where's my oneness? So I look at scenarios of my real life and I ask myself, where's your oneness, big shot? And it helps me bring it back together. Coming here with people I care about and love, that's easy. How about people who can't stand me? Can I find the oneness? You know, I once had experience where my mentor long ago made me find or challenged me to find the God within this guy that couldn't stand me. And it took me 7 months. And I finally did it. And when I went to run back to tell him, Dr. Rio, I did it. He said, sit down. He said, you didn't find the God within him. You found the God within you.
Absolutely. Wow.
From that point to this, I do that as a mnemonic device to make sure I keep myself on track. Nobody's grading me. There's no report card to this, but I need to, repetition is the mother of skill. I need to practice it.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for that teaching, Rico. Wow. And you know what you make me think of? You don't make me, but you know what I think of when I listen to you was another clue like you got from that mentor is catching ourselves when we're in the high of the dream. Oh, we got this. Oh, we got that. It's just the flip side. And sometimes it's easier to catch that. Okay, that's nice, but let me not get high. Let me go back to the oneness. The oneness isn't that kind of high. The oneness is a steadiness that never leaves. It's a neutrality, right? Raise your hand if that's your experience of oneness. Or it doesn't make you better than your brother, not worse than your sister. It's not all, oh, wow, So that's sometimes what I do as a way to come to remember that neutrality that is such a gift. What do other people do to John?
So on that point, what I to alert myself that I'm in a oneness, I will report what I see in you that I love about myself is blah blah blah, because at that moment, what I've witnessed union, and it's a witness about love. So I've consciously alerted myself to the oneness at that moment. So that's what when I remember to do it, or when I get the opportunity to do that, I will do that.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And I've seen you do that to even speakers you don't know. You will reach out and say, I love you. You are beautiful. Yeah. It's wow. And then you're remembering who you are. Right?
And I feel great when I say it. I just there's something elevating. There's something transcendent. It's like, hey, this is nice. This is a nice experience. This is wow. This is a wow moment.
Does anybody go to? Thank you so much. It is a wow moment, John. Does anybody go outside the perceived self and then say, I'm the observer of this feeling? I am not the feeling, because we all know we're not the feeling of when we were 5. You do that. And does it help? Tell us about it, Raf.
As soon as I realize that I am the awareness of what's going on and not that of which I am aware, even if that's only a second or two, it locks me into the reality of what we are. I mean, like Bishop's talking about names for God. Another name for God is awareness, consciousness, beingness. It only alludes to what it is. Nobody can really know until you become, until you remember completely. But that awareness factor, when I write my gains at night before I go to bed, one of the things I write in almost every night was the awareness was constant. And then I look back and I reflect, oh my God, that's true. Because all day long, like for instance, all day long, that has been going on, and driving home to get home in time to put this on, I turned it all over to beingness, knowing that it would be perfect. My mind kept saying, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And I just kept saying, oh, there goes my mind again, doing that. Nice. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And I got home 2 minutes before the call, and I said to my wife, well, I did the best I could. She said, are you kidding? It was perfect. You're here. You did it. And it was all about just staying aware and not getting caught up in, oh no, what's going to happen now? I mean, you know how my trigger carries on like that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of says it right there.
That's beautiful, Ralph. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that reminds me of one of John Mundy's stories, which I like to tell at this moment. Where Ralph was saying that when you become the observer, the awareness, and you're aware of your thoughts, you're not judging the thoughts. You're just aware of your thoughts. You can actually watch the ego just going along, making things up, and then you're watching it, and you begin to smile and say, my goodness, I used to listen to this stuff and made it real. Most of you know that John Mundy has a book on mysticism and the mystics. And one of his favorite stories, more mystics become mystics by actually crash and burn, meaning that they go through life, and at a certain point they actually crash and burn, and all of a sudden their mind stops, and they watch that they've been making things up. And he says what makes a mystic like Byron Katie or Eckhart Tolle is they just return to the now and just recognize that they don't want to make things up anymore. They just live in the now. And
that is possible for each of us, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're all mystics. It's just our willingness to stop listening to the voice that's not our voice. I mean, that's a willingness. And I quote David Hoffmeister when I say, that's a train. That wasn't David. David says, your only contribution in this world is your willingness to just be here now. Just your willingness. That's all it takes. Everything else is done for you. After all, I'm not the doer. I'm just the one that is willing to simply be. As Bill Free says, I am. It's the I amness that is the oneness. I am, whether it's awareness, I am. Sometimes I even use l'chaim, which is life. And that's what Rosalyn brought in, life. Does anyone want to share anything on any of this? Mayfa, thank you so much. And Mayfa's a good friend. She's part of the Wisconsin Dells, the Endeavor Academy people up there. And I'm so glad that you came here tonight. And she's inviting me to one of her meetings coming up on a Wednesday night coming up, But Mayford, do you want to share,
Yeah.
please? Go ahead.
Yeah. First, I want to say thank you to all. I am so excited, so happy to share with you here. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege for me to share with you guys. And I want to share something that happened with me, with a neighbor. I had a neighbor that she has cancer. And most of the time she's alone. Sometimes her sons come, but most of the time she's alone. And one day I was walking, and I saw that she was out to the car, but she was crying, and she was crying and walk fast to go to open the door, her door. And I said to her, Margie, what happened? Do you need a huggle? And she said, yes. And I huggled her. And but my mind in that moment was telling to myself, this is not real. This is not real. This is not real, you know? And I huggled her. And then she said to me some things, that she was with the doctor and that she needed a treatment. But suddenly I saw her and I said, but you had a beautiful glasses today, because she was using pink glasses. And then she started to laugh, and we start to laugh, you know? And for me, that was amazing, because I show up there in the right moment, I think, right? Yeah. And what for me it was incredible. Not all the time I can do that, but I try to practice a lot. When Jesus say in the second review, she say, God did not create this in the way that I see, right? And it's so important. And I try to practice a lot, that people call me, oh, I need this problem. And I start to say to my mind, this is not real. God did not create this, you know? And that it was a beautiful experience for me with her.
Wow, Mayford, that was gorgeous. We can all borrow that. This is not real. What if we said that to the repetitive statements that we have about ourselves? Whatever it is, oh, you should lose weight. Oh, you're not smart enough. Oh, you're not. What if we just said that's not real? And it's still not real. And it's still not real. And it's still not real. And after a while, it might be funny, and we might have that smile. Yeah. And remember to laugh, right? And you ended up in laughter over the pink glasses. But I think energetically, she really got what you meant. It wasn't the words. You were holding the truth right at that moment. And there are no secrets. We're joined. It's the oneness over and over.
And it's so beautiful, because sometimes she loves apple pie, and sometimes I prepare apple pie, and I call her and I say, do you want coffee with apple pie? And she say, sure. And she can, and she start to talk, but finally always we laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's, even if she tell me about the family or the treatment, you know, it's beautiful.
Mayford, do you think there's anything in your culture, because in some other Latin cultures where I've been, there's more ease of laughing. Was there anything from where you grew up where laughter is a more frequent joining?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll notice and come back and tell me, because maybe when it's your own, you don't notice it. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you, I am from Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
I grow in Colombia. And I remember that I was working at the university, and in that moment, I didn't know the course. I didn't find the course. And one time, a guy that he was working with me, he came to my office. He came to my office, and he said to me, always you are smiling. You know, and I don't know, I feel that that is is like a
It's your gift. It's your gift.
yes, it's my
your-
gift, and maybe my culture that is Latin people sometimes are more open, more sentimental, more emotion, more passion. I remember when I moved to Wisconsin, that people say, we need you guys from Colombia because you are so passionate, because you cry, you laugh, you want to help,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yes. Thank you, John.
Yeah, so thanks, Mayfield, because that's in the course. I heard Dr. Watney say one time when we remembered not to laugh and we took things seriously. That's the big problem. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is right on the money. Just the joy showing through, the laughter showing through. Like it's treading lightly over the whole thing. So that's a great gift you bring, and you brought to that lady. And I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Yeah, and I love something that David say, that I practice a lot, and is when I am walking, I like to walk or biking, and sometimes I am with the saline a little bit, and I start to think what I'm going to do about things that I have in Colombia, for example, right? What I'm going to do, and then I remember, and I say, no, Maffer, you belongs to God, and I start to say to myself, I belong to God, and then I start to be restful again,
Yes, that's beautiful. I belong to God. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the oneness. Again, I love your interpretation. Lynn, did you have your hand up?
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Namaste, mighty companions. I love this here. I'm just saying, I'm going through something now that,
Louder.
well, better?
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yes,
Good,
yes.
good. There's this really loud music going on across the street, and I used to used to be like electricity, and it's been a challenge for me. Now I look at it as an opportunity. And so far I'm getting through it. It's just becoming a part of what is. There's loud music in heaven.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah, Lynn, that's what I call acceptance. And for me, acceptance rather than resistance causes a lot of pain, hurt, suffering. Acceptance for me is the same as forgiveness. When you accept things and you include them instead of excluding them, they don't bother you at all. They don't bother you at all. For instance, I have tinnitus in my left ear, and it's a debilitating kind of thing, meaning that over the years it's even getting worse. And most people who have tinnitus say, I can't take, the hum or the ring or whatever. And it's never bothered me because I include it. I never even think of it. It's not even there for me unless I talk about it, like I'm talking about it now, and then maybe I'll hear it. So whatever you include is part of the oneness. It cannot hurt you. So basically, whenever you're resisting, you're in fear, and fear is always the tool of the ego to keep the pain going. And we always say, as the Course in Miracles, as Jesus says, if pain is real, God is not real. If God is real, there is no pain. And all that God does is include all equally in the one mind of God. So thank you so much, Lynn, for bringing that up.
Thank you.
And there was something in your quotes that you shared today, Dov. I think it was in the Hafiz poem where he tells us to let it in the beginning explode, let it be expressed, let it be felt.
Yes.
And I'm not a believer anymore in the stages of grief, except for that first one, the shock, because you cannot go from this person was alive in this world and you did all these things and now they're not, and skip over without processing even in your body the different situation. And I'm a great believer in just allowing it. Again, just like if allowing Dove's ringing in his ear, allowing the body to express. I had a funny story. My daughter passed, and we didn't expect it, so there was shock, and whatever forms that took. And after a certain while, when there are two of you processing something, you try not to dump whatever's going on for you onto the other one. So I went into the bedroom, and you're talking about ears. I'm deaf in the right ear. So I thought I would take the opportunity to wail into the pillow, and it felt really good to let it out, just experience it. And I really didn't have a choice, but I didn't judge it. And my husband came running in, and I went, how would you know? Like I couldn't hear any sounds. Well, I had the wrong ear up. I had the deaf ear up, so I couldn't hear a single sound. It wasn't magic. He wasn't telepathic. He was, and it's probably still at that point, it was the greater guidance to share it rather than be alone with it. But that wasn't what the personal self was trying to do. So I just want to put that out there, that otherwise it's spiritual bypass to go like, oh, it's just the oneness. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think one can get there. And Dov had 3 days, he said, of screaming, and I had much longer, but not too long, just a miracle of just acceptance. And it doesn't mean agreement. It doesn't mean that's my opinion that I would have her gone. It just means it is what it is. And I am open to the love that is present. And for some reason, I think being broken all the way open by the shock of losing my daughter at 39 opened me more to the love that's present in life. So Dov was even saying some of these mystics, they had their hard knocks before they got opened up. That's certainly been my experience. And I see, Kathleen, you shaking your head. Is that your experience too?
Not initially. When I first found the course, it was through my mom, and I was very involved. And then I had like a decade where I just completely just went to the other side. And now I'm coming back, even though I've had plenty of hard knocks, but I'm not quite there yet. So I wouldn't say the hard knocks have made me any more of a mystic than I was in the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, just staying open, and you're shaking your head I felt your resonance and your understanding, and that may have been a portal for you. So let's look for that opening for you to have another point of view, another perspective.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Yeah. Yes, Dov.
I just want to point out from Hafiz, he says, let it ferment and season you as few human or even divine ingredients can. So the ego always wants to react and do something. Ego's always into the doing. So Hafiz is saying, no, don't jump out and do anything, which is always ego speaks first and loudest. Step back. And I use the word marinate, kind of marinate in it. He uses the word ferment. Let it, allow yourself to dwell in it. And as you dwell in it, you're going to see that it's actually perfect for your peace. That the goal of this course in miracles is peace. I know people said, no, the goal should be happiness, but when you're peaceful, you are happy.
Absolutely.
When you're happy,
Mhm.
you're peaceful. So as you allow yourself to ferment or marinate, you're going to experience that oneness, that sweetness, that calmness, that peace. So I just point that out. There's no need to jump into anything, which is the ego's big thing. Well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I need do nothing. And Jesus tells you in chapter 18, section 7, these 4 words will save you a century of contemplation and meditation and trying to figure out what to do next. Yes, John.
Yeah, on that point, I need do nothing. That came up a few weeks ago for me. And speaking about marinating and stuff, I would like to report something. This group here has been a portal for me, Rosalyn, about my situation. That I'm so happy to let you know. In the at least last weekend, I have actually let go or sent on its way of in total acceptance of a story that I've been running for 77 freaking years, and so. You know, there's plenty of time for me. It's long enough, you know, and so I just want to express my gratitude. I want to express my acceptance, full acceptance of what's happening to me, and just acknowledge everybody here and myself for marinating and being open to going through the portal, and just honoring everybody here for their love and for my love. So I just want to report that. Make sure I say it and make sure that it gets heard.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, John. Thank you.
And claiming it like you do is so amazing, because it changes things. Instead of referring to the old self, you're now claiming this new experience.
Not only that, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel absolutely terrific.
Yay. Does anyone have any last thoughts before we close? Yes, Rico.
And I really thoughts are just a diplomatic part of my love. I just want to say hello to Kathy, Kathleen, and Mayfair, because I've never met you before. And I want to thank you for adding love to this group, which increases my love boat. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything at all?
I would like to say something, and it's like the meditation touched my heart in truth. I almost cry, you know. Yeah, thank you so much. Along the way, when I started the course, I met the course because I lost a nephew. I met a nephew. People killed him in Colombia, and I met him in a morgue, in the mortgage. Yeah, in the morgue. In that moment, I started to fight with God, and suddenly I found the course. And I had a lot of experience after. And along the way, I started to lose. First, my father passed, after my mom, after my brother, and I had a daughter that she's in a course. I hope that one day I don't know, you know her. David knows her because she translates him, and she's doing the course. But her father passed when she was 4 years old. And when I met the course, she was 8 or 9 years old, you know. And that I can tell you about that shortly is that Jesus showed me in truth that I cannot lose them, you know. And for me, the most difficult was with my mom, because I have a so close relation with her, and she was, and I was practicing the course with her a lot, because she had a lot of operations. She was in the hospital with Otzik. Was a lot that I can tell you a lot of stories about that. But something that started to give me a lot of peace was one time that I was reading the manual of teacher about how healing accomplished. And I get a part that Jesus say, in my words, if you offer the healing, you know, is done. You know, even if she's not here, that I offered to her, that was the healing that is God. She got it, you know, and that started I start, because I felt guilty for many things, you know. I felt so alone because I call her twice a day, you know. And suddenly, I didn't have anyone to call, not father, not mother, not brother, you know. And I can tell you that, and also helped me a lot the idea to sometimes when I try to feel alone for her, I start to say to her, you live in me and I live in you, you know? And that is, oh,
That is the truth.
Yeah.
That is the oneness.
That is the truth. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody.
I
What
want
a
to thank
beautiful
everyone for
session.
being here. We're here next Tuesday, same time. Thank you so much for being here. Bless you all. Have a blessed week.
Mwah.
Mwah.
I don't care
Bye,
what they say
everyone.
about you, John. I love you,
God
man.
bless.
Hi, Lynn.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you,
That was
thank you.
lovely.
Good week.
God
Take care,
bless.
Ralph.
If anyone wants the recording, Rosalind can send the recording. We
I'm
didn't
just
mention-
gonna send it to everybody.
Okay, we're sending the
because
recording
it's
to everybody.
easy. And then if
Very
you
good.
miss a week, then you can still watch it rather than going to YouTube. It is going to go to YouTube as well, but I have all your emails, so it's just as easy to send it to you. And I know that when I get things in my email, it's easier to watch than go looking on YouTube. So I'm going to do that. And if somebody doesn't want it, just reply, don't send.
And please share it with friends who may attend next week. Truly.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys
Bye.
rock. Mwah.
Okay.